This video explores on creating and manipulating entities within a 2D environment. It highlights the distinction between geometric entities, lines, arcs, circles, and dimensions and texts. Emphasizes auto-associativity, where changes to geometric entities automatically update associated dimensions. Introduces the concept of groups and how to manage group visibility, activate groups for editing, and apply operations to passive groups. Parameterization is presented as a powerful tool, enabling the use of variables and expressions to define command parameters, allowing dynamic adjustments to drawings. In this video, we will emphasize some drawing module basic concepts that have already been, or will be, more deeply detailed in future videos, like auto-associativity, associative dimensions, editing entities, groups, and parameterization. In the drawing and sketch environment are possible to create types of entities, geometries, and dimensions and texts. Geometric entities are those created through the group of commands like build menu, such as lines, arcs, and circles, etc. Modify, join, trim, fillet, etc. Operate, move, copy, mirror. The second type are the dimensions and texts created by the dimension group of commands. Let's create a circle. On the main horizontal bar, choose Circle command, indicating a center at any point. Note that in the second parameter you can indicate a point or a radius. To indicate a diameter, simply insert the prefix d before the value. A line can receive up to types of thickness. On the left side, the colors that represent the thicknesses are shown. In THS area, you can control also line dash and fill attributes. Yellow color is pre-defined in this case. Indicate a point to define the radius of the circle. Note that right after creating the circle, a dimension was automatically created. Some commands create automatic associative dimensions. Select a circle, and with the right button open the quick menu, and in the Edit Attribute option define the properties of the circle line. The thicknesses can be thin, medium, and thick, and each type is subdivided into subtypes. And note that the yellow color is the medium thickness with type. The thicknesses are important because when printing, it is possible to associate them with physical printing thicknesses such as pixels, millimeters, etc. It is possible to define different colors for the thicknesses in each group, but when printing, the physical thicknesses defined for the thin, medium, and thick thicknesses will be the same, regardless of the definition of their color in each group. A list is shown on the left side of the graphics area. It is called the commands list or command tree. It shows commands. The first is the created circle, and the second is the auto-associative dimension. Moving the mouse over this list, the result of this command is shown in the graphics area. Let's manually create a new dimension referencing this circle. Activate a dimension command in the top bar by clicking on the Line Dimensions option and click on the Create Entity Dimension command. Note that now the dimension value is shown in the same color as the dimension lines. The text of the auto-associative dimensions has a different color than the dimension lines, indicating that it is an auto-associative dimension type. This way we can differentiate the types of dimensions in the graphics screen. When printing, the texts of these types of dimensions will always be printed in the same color as the dimension lines. In the auto-associative dimension, the radius value can be edited by clicking on the dimension with the control button pressed. See what happens. The radius value is shown for editing. When a manually created dimension is selected with the control key pressed, the circle command that created the entity is shown, and its parameters can be edited. Creating a double center line. Moving the mouse close to the circle, its center is automatically identified. This happens because the auto-info or auto-snap function is active. This area shows many visualization controls like filters for geometries and dimension visualization, graphic window management, etc., and will be detailed in others' videos. The two first buttons control the snap operations. The first button opens diverse snaps functions, and the second controls the auto-snap or auto-info functions. Note that the extreme, middle, and center points of auto-info functions are active. Now indicate the center of the circle as the reference for the double line center. Also, if the right mouse button is clicked, a menu is opened. It shows other information compatible with the active parameter. This is another possibility for fast access to information functions. To indicate the length of the center line, you can use the quadrant function or the circle diameter information function, indicating the diameter. Note that the center line was created with a larger half dash. To configure the center line's dash attribute, select one of the center lines and right-click to open a new submenu and choose the Edit Attribute option. Configure the center line spacing. Change it to create a line offset from the vertical center line. First select the line and then the offset command. Note that again, a new auto-associative dimension has been created. By accessing the General Configuration button, it is possible to enable or disable the option to automatically create dimensions associated with the geometry. There are options to edit the offset. First, click on the auto-associative dimension with the Control key pressed. Second, double-click on the offset line. Third, edit it by double-clicking on its command in the command list. When the mouse cursor is over a command in the list, the result of the command is highlighted on the graphic screen. Selecting the offset line in the graphics area, its position in the list is also highlighted. Let's change this length. Choose Join Amp, extend command, extend by a value. Create a line dimension. Creating a tangent line to the circle up to the offset. Set the tangent line option. Create a mirror of this line. Select the line and choose Mirror. Save drawing as Basic Concepts. Creating a fill area on the right side. Open the Contour command. Set Closed Contour function, Attribute option Edit, and Intersection check. The function will check all the lines that intersect the contour, and not only at the ends. Indicate pattern with type and hatching with a distance. See that the contour function created arcs. Select and join them with the Join option. On the left side, create another fill, but using the pattern. Define a new type, angle, and hatch distance. To create different fills for hatching, colors, or images, you can set different patterns numbers. Remember also that those fill patterns configurations are valid only for the active group. As we are going to explain, you can have as many groups as you want in one drawing, and each one is independent. If no command is active and you want to select entities, click with the left mouse button, and a rectangular selection area will open. See that shown in the upper area are the options to activate the selection option for geometry or dimensions, or for both types. When the selection of dimensions and texts is active, the identification point of these entities is shown. Selecting the left dimension through the selection by area, and pressing the Delete key. Editing the dimension position. You can edit the circle direct in the list of commands. Note that if any command or geometry is modified, the fill attributes are automatically restored. Create a new angular dimension. Select the lines and choose dimension. The text height is too big. There is a button that is used to directly edit the general dimension height. This configuration controls all dimension heights. Also, through the general configuration, it is possible to modify the dimension configuration. Here you can edit the dimension height. There are different tabs that enable diverse configurations. For instance, indicate the decimal fraction by comma and with ANSI standard. All these modifications affect only the active group. If you want a configuration to be active or valid for new groups or drawings, click on the Save as Default option. Now the dimension configuration is applied to the active group. Create a simple text. Note that there is a scale parameter that indicates 0 is equal to def. It means equal to the general default dimension height. Let's keep this parameter at. That is, the text will have the dimension general scale. Now if you edit the general dimension height, the text height or scale will be changed equal to dimension heights. If the text scale is changed to a value different from 0, for instance, the general default dimension will not impact the text height. Now we will explain a very powerful tool in SolidFace, which is the parameterization, and this property can be used in the drawing, sketch, and in the dpart and assembly modules. Parameterization is the process of associating variables or parametric expressions in the definition of a command parameter. Edit the circle radius and insert a variable instead of a fixed value, indicating a variable called radius. Since the variable does not yet exist, the system asks to create it. Go to the List of Variables tab. To edit this variable, simply click on it in the list of variables. In a given active group, it is possible to define any number of variables. We can create global variables that is visible on all groups, but we will not demonstrate them here. When creating a parameterization of an entity, you can indicate the dimension with its current value, or indicate the associated variable. For instance, in the circle dimension, indicate that it should show the geometry-associated variable. Edit the dimension with a double click. Since the dimension is showing the diameter in form radius, set to show the parametric expression. See the result. It is important to note that for the parameterization to work, we do not need to indicate the variable or the parametric expression in the dimension. Because the command has already been defined with parametric information, in this case, the radius variable as the circle radius parameter. Until now, the construction has been built in a single group. Let's open a drawing with several groups. The list of groups is shown in the lower area of the left side of the graphics screen. This drawing has a total of groups. That is to group number. The group number is the active one and is indicated by a pencil icon. This means that this group is active for editing and creating geometric entities, dimensions, and texts. At a given time, only one group can be active for editing. The other groups are called passive, and their visualizations may or may not be active. The upper area shows the list of commands or all entities created in the active group. This icon controls the visibility of a passive group. Its visualization can be disabled by clicking on this icon. When you select one or more groups and click with the right mouse button, it opens a menu, and is possible to apply different functions to these groups. Use the Shift key to select groups in sequence. Let's set all visible again. Sometimes it is difficult to identify which group is passive. It is possible to set all passive groups with a single color called passive color. When moving the mouse to the lower area of the graphics screen, a quick access button bar is displayed. For instance, this button sets all passive groups with the passive color. Only the geometries and dimensions of active group is shown with their defined thickness colors. To activate a passive group, simply double-click on an entity belonging to that group, double-click on its position in the group list, or on the icon with the symbol. Moving the mouse over the group list, a rectangular area is displayed that contains all the entities of that group. Disable the passive group colors visualization. You can only select entities belonging to the active group. When a rectangular selection area is created, all passive groups will be displayed in passive color, indicating that their entities cannot be selected. As already explained, each group has its own list of commands. When creating an entity in an active group, you can use geometric information, midpoint, extreme, etc. from any passive groups. However, when referencing geometric information from passive groups, this information is not auto-associative. In other words, when modifying an entity in the active group, this modification will not be automatic associative with the geometry that referenced it in a passive group. Auto-association will always be possible in entities created in the same active group. Although you can edit or operate geometry or dimension only in the active group if needed, you can use specific functions that can operate passive groups. With this function, it is possible to apply different operations to the passive groups. To create a new group, use the Create Group function. In this case, the current active group becomes passive. Up to this point, we have visualized the drawings according to the colors of their thicknesses, independent of the group where the entity was created. Set all passive group with passive color again. To set a thickness color in this group, go to General Configuration, select the desired color and click in Colors. Modify the medium color thickness type from yellow to blue. Select it and apply. This type of visualization is the default and is used in the vast majority of drawing visualization. A drawing can also be visualized according to the colors of its groups. Let's visualize this drawing according to its group's colors. In the same way, you can configure the group color. Remember that solid face drawing has the same function interface as the sketch module of the part and assembly environments. Therefore, everything shown here applies to the sketch module, greatly simplifying the task of learning the 3D environment. The sketch technique represents about 50% of the time invested in 3D modeling learning.